It's great to be here, and many thanks to the wonderful Ambrose for inviting me to be part of this Human Rights Without Borders event as part of the 5th Annual Leicester Human Rights Arts and Film Festival, and of course to the University of Leicester as well. It's an honour to be part of this occasion and part of a panel which is so passionate and knowledgeable. I speak today as chair of the Leicester LGBT Centre, an organisation which for more than 40 years now has been working with, giving support to and providing advocacy for our LGBT plus communities in Leicester, Leicestershire and Rutland. And with Leicester especially being truly an international city and a student city, those communities can and do come from all over the world. These are challenging times for the human rights agenda, aren't they? Trump, Brexit, the rise of the far right across parts of the world, populists of both left and right gaining ground. And, let's be blunt, shall we, tonight, the bigots of the world feeling newly emboldened to spread their hate. And whilst there are reasons to be positive and cheerful and optimistic, and believe me, I will get to those at the end, these remain times for all too many LGBT plus communities in many parts of the world that are dim, dark and dangerous. 50 years after homosexuality was decriminalised in England and Wales, there are 72 other countries and territories worldwide where still in 2018, being in same-sex relationships remains a criminal offence. And there are 8 nations in which homosexuality is punishable by death. And in dozens more, it can and does result in a prison sentence. That's according to the International Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual and Intersex Association. Last month at our centre on Wellington Street here in the city, we held a sombre occasion to mark the International Transgender Day of Remembrance, an event held to memorialise those people who've been murdered as a result of transphobia. That amounted to more than 300 people worldwide, and we had an individual stood at the front of that gathering and read out each of those names and each of the dates when it took place and each of the places in the world when it happened, and it took a very long time to go through those, and I think we were all in tears by the end, with Brazil, Mexico and the United States seeing the highest numbers of transphobic murders. And this year there was a transphobic murder here in the UK. 36-year-old Naomi Hersey was stabbed to death at Heathrow Palace in London on Sunday, March 18th. We remember her and indeed all who've been murdered because of who they are or who they love. Our centre has 2 trans projects, the Young Transgender Centre of Excellence, the first project of its kind in the East Midlands to be funded by BBC Children in Need, providing age-appropriate help, support and advice to young trans individuals, and the Adult Trans Project, funded by the Big Lottery, providing ongoing support to trans adults. For me, this work is representative of the new front line of the ongoing fight for full LGBT plus equality. Is the fight for proper recognition and celebration of trans, gender fluid and non-binary communities, and the urgent need to challenge those who both online and offline engage in hate speech against those communities. And I can tell you that it's funny when you start seeing, awful, I should point out, that when you start seeing transphobia in, not just on social media where sadly you might expect it, because of what a cesspool it often is, but in The Guardian and on Channel 4, supposed liberal bastions of our media establishment, then you know that we really do have a significant problem. So let me say it loud and let me say it clear, to borrow from Hillary Clinton: trans rights are human rights and human rights are trans rights. Sadly, despite many of the advances of recent years, many LGBT plus people across the spectrum still face discrimination at school, in the workplace, in the family home. And perhaps most shamefully of all, even when fleeing persecution. Another one of our groups at the LGBT Centre is called Free to Fly. This is our LGBT plus asylum seekers group. And earlier this year, when Sajid Javid became the new Home Secretary, we joined with a number of other LGBT plus organisations across the country in calling for an end to the hostile environment, which has seen gay asylum seekers being told by the Home Office to prove that they are gay. These are people fleeing one kind of persecution and finding another when they arrive here. We as a country are better than that, or we should be. So the fight for LGBT plus equality and an end to persecution both here and abroad goes on. I talked earlier of seeds of hope, and in recent years, from New Zealand to Australia to the Republic of Ireland to India, we've seen significant steps forward. But our work never ends, and we as a centre will do, I was going to say our small bit, but we do a lot, so I'll say our big bit here in Leicestershire and Rutland will go on until there's full equality and celebration for all of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, queer, questioning, sexuality fluid, asexual, polyamorous, non-binary, gender fluid and other communities. LGBT rights are human rights. Thanks very much.